I'm Allie Camilletti, and you are listening to Snack Leadership. I will be talking about everything leadership, broken down into bite-sized pieces. You will hear what different leadership skills look like in organizations and how they can rise teams up or take them down. My hope is for you to feel inspiration and to create a spark in your mindset. Today we are talking about emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is the capacity to be aware of, control, and express one's emotions, and to handle interpersonal relationships judiciously and empathetically. I am talking with Toby Babich, the president of Breckenridge Resort Managers in Breckenridge, Colorado, mayor of Blue River, president of the Vacation Rental Managers Association, and president of the Breckenridge Lodging Association. I originally met Toby when he was looking for a coach for his company to support his team in their customer service and sales education. He is one of my favorite leaders, and it is because of his vulnerability, humility, empathy, and desire to be a solid human being. Get ready to hear what emotional intelligence is all about. Hi, Toby. Thank you for joining us today.
Hey, Allie, thank you so much for having me.
All right, so we're talking about emotional intelligence, and I like to start off by asking, what made you originally embrace emotional intelligence?
Ooh, yeah, that's a big question and really a big phrase. My environment is just really important to me, and I think, as you know, in working with me over the years and with my company, I vigorously defend and protect that environment, really in every interaction I have, whether it's in my business or the service work that I do. And it really stems back from having a pretty volatile childhood that really continued through when I was a young adult and has caused some, pretty deep trauma in me as a person. I've learned that chaos is a very difficult environment for humans, especially young humans, to exist in, let alone work in. So, as I became an adult and as I became a little more self-aware, and specifically when I started my businesses, um, I really strive to create an environment in those businesses of peace and kindness for myself and others. And modeling of that behavior tends to provide a really enjoyable and comfortable place for all of us to exist within. Um, I would say creating that environment is very therapeutic for me. I'm able to give to others what I really desired as a young boy, and it's why I strongly embrace, the values of self-care, positivity, and inner peace. Those are all three things that I try to keep at top of mind every day for myself and for everybody around me. And the way that really translates into my business and also into those that I lead and some of the volunteer work I do is that when those people feel genuinely cared about, they will care for others. And, I think that that is just kind of the basic mentality that I have on a daily basis, whether it's my family or my leadership roles or my business, is that, when people feel cared about, they're going to take care of the people that are customers or friends or acquaintances, or, I really try to model that out and make sure that my environment is always protected and peaceful.
It speaks to the importance of safety, which coming from any type of trauma, as we work through that in adults, when we're in our adult life, that is, and we see the importance of safety and how important it is in cultures and how it can very easily be disrupted, and people don't realize how disrupted it is
Yes.
until things start kind of blowing up, I'd say, in companies, and they're like, we need to take a look at that. And you talked about what it looks like when implemented in cultures. Was there anything you wanted to add on that before we go into what does it look like with other companies that you've seen where it isn't there?
Yeah, I can speak to the way that it's implemented in the cultures that I have a leadership role in, and I was thinking about this as I was reviewing your questions, Ali, and as I told you a minute ago, I did some really deep soul searching on this, and one of the examples that popped into my mind, we're both parents. young kids. I hope Chella as well. But the best metaphor I can really think of for the type of culture and environment I work to protect is, what's the first thing that Chella does when she falls down and skins her knee? She looks at you. She looks directly at you and looks for some sort of physical or emotional cue of how should I react here? What is it I should be doing? Should I be scared? Should I be upset? Should I be calm? And for me, really, I think as leaders, we have to embrace that type of mentality when it comes to the people that we lead. We have to model behaviors that keep them calm and keep them peaceful, and keep them, quiet in the storm. Um, Really, as that is modeled and as we implement those behaviors, what they do is they take root and they grow. And they come the base of a culture of operation and a social structure. Um, it does take a lot of work, of course. The leadership's got to be strong, consistent, and it's demanding to be protective and nurture that environment. And as you said, negative creeps in and it creeps in very slowly. So it's got to be consistent leadership. Anything destructive or toxic needs to be removed as quickly as possible. And the culture really only thrives with consistent nurturing, just like with a child. So you have to start with modeling that behavior of calm and peace and make sure that it takes root within your culture. And really, when it works, it becomes not something that one person provides to the group, but that the whole group has ownership in, and everybody protects that culture. And that's when it's become really successful in whatever part of an organization you're in. Um, is when everybody's protective of that culture that's been nurtured for however long it's been nurtured for. And we luckily have that in my business and most of the cultures that I work in, because again, it's something I'm protective of. And at the end of the day, and I tell people this all the time, if I'm going to be doing something with my time, it's going to have to be fun. I can make money doing a lot of things. I don't need to worry about that. I want to make sure I'm having a good time because, gosh darn it, I'm 45 and I've only got a handful of really interesting years left on this planet before I start drooling and want to take a nap every 5 minutes.
I understand that. That's for sure. So, have you witnessed it in cultures where there isn't emotional intelligence? And how were you able to see that? What did it look like?
Well, in thinking about this too, I've been part of cultures, not necessarily as a leader, but definitely as a component of a culture where they didn't have a strong focus on kindness, peacefulness, the individual. And it's really a toxic environment, I think is the best way I can describe it. And just like nurturing a positive environment, if you allow a toxic environment to take root, um, it spreads and it spreads quickly and it's very difficult to extract. Um, People tend to be, shorter with one another. They don't have a lot of energy. They don't have a lot of vigor for their job. They don't get along well with others. There's no team dynamic. There's no group of people working for a common goal. It's a very individualistic and negative environment to exist in, and really, it's just defeating. Personally, it's defeating, and those are the jobs that people go into, and they wake up in the morning and hit their snooze button for the third time and go, God, I just don't want to go in today. Um, we've all, I think, I would imagine most people have been part of that kind of environment. And, anybody listening, you can probably feel what it felt like to be there. And it's just personally so defeating on a daily basis. And, as I tell my people, a toxic environment is only going to produce a toxic result. So whatever part of an organization you're in or whatever group you're serving, if you got a toxic environment, you're not doing anything good for anybody.
And it makes me think of one of my favorite quotes of what we allow, we
Mm,
encourage. And really, what you're talking about as I hear you describing this, it's a base root of empathy in an organization. And empathy and emotional intelligence are directly connected with that.
yes. Yeah, and as you know, we've done a lot of work on empathy together. I would say, some of the coaching that you've given me and my team has been extremely beneficial. I think I'm good at conceptualizing and doing it on my own, but maybe not so much spreading it among others. So, that kind of work we've done in groups to really build that the empathetic baseline that we have and the emotional intelligence that we have has just been a fundamentally wonderful thing for my business and my team. I call it my business. I don't really look at it as a business. I look at it as really a group of people that I really enjoy being with on a daily basis. And I think a lot of that comes from a lot of the work we've done. So I appreciate it.
I think it's great that you do a ski day with your team. And it always gets me so excited when I hear that. And what we're finding right now, especially with what's been happening with the pandemic this last year, is that it goes back to exercise. And I personally know for me, when I am in times of stress, it's one piece of self care a day. And for me, it usually does look like exercise in some form, whether it is skiing, jogging, walking, but it's outside and it is increasing that vibration. And so the more you can do that with your team and encourage that, the more you will have that level of high vibration and really enjoyment in your organization.
Yeah, definitely agreed. And as you know, living in the mountains in Oregon, and we live in the mountains in Colorado, outdoor activity is really the fundamental baseline of why most people live here. They don't live here because it's inexpensive, and they
Right.
they they don't live here because it's got great weather during the winter. It's because of the outdoor activity. So I think you bring up an excellent point there.
So let's talk about leadership mentors. Who have you relied on in your leadership growth?
Yeah, it's an interesting question that you posed, and the answer I came out to, and hopefully this isn't too disappointing, is I actually don't look to others for leadership. Um, I was taught from a very young age, by circumstance, that I really need to rely on myself to find my own way in the world. And for me, it's more about consistent self-assessment of the impact I have in others that I lead and others that I interact with. And I use my successes and failures as a compass to continue to develop leadership skills in myself. And really, I'm not very big on imitating or mimicking others who are good leaders. I really want to develop my own style, my own process, and really keep them true to who I am as a human, because then it's genuine, right? I'm not just parroting what somebody else says. And really, at the end of the day, I find that approach offers me just a little more pleasure and really ownership over the results of the leadership style that I have, whether they're positive or negative. So, unfortunately, I don't have a great answer for you there, or maybe that was a great answer. I'm not really sure, but
I think it is a great answer, and it speaks directly to what you started off with what happened from an early age for you, and how when we do learn that we have got to rely on ourselves, that's just how we live, and we take it from the beginning, and it stays with us. And I don't think everyone has to have a mentor by any means. I find that when I look at mentorship, I take pieces.
mm,
It's never a whole thing. Because even as I have been assessing different leaders that I have worked with, they've never embodied every single thing that I strive for in my leadership style, but they've had pieces. And that's where I like to lean in to them on those pieces and learn more in those areas. What about a quote that you really feel embodies emotional
now,
intelligence?
as you were talking about taking pieces from other people, this quote, and I'm not going to tell you who said it, because I will I'm going to know that you're going to guess it immediately, probably as I read the first few words of it. But it's one of my favorites. It's from a contemporary poet, and she puts out some fantastic stuff. But my favorite quote that I carry with me, and I've actually read this out loud a couple of times in live events because I think it really speaks to not only self care, but also the care that we show to others. And I'm in the hospitality industry with a vacation rental company here in Breckenridge, and this is right in my wheelhouse. But I'm gonna go ahead and read it here, and I want you to let me know how many words it took for me to read before you guessed who it was. I've learned that people will forget what you said, will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And that is such a special quote to me.
It took me 2 words. Because it directly relates to the base of what we talked about, which is empathy, right? And I too love that. I heard that she was in our community years ago and I did not know. And I still am like, Allie, let it go, because, that would have been an amazing experience.
Yeah. Well, and just to get that kind of exposure to that kind of mind, and obviously she's got a lot more packed away in interesting quotes online, but this is one that I really carry with me, and I'm not to the point yet where I can recite it verbatim, but boy, do I carry the message with me, and I think it's very important for every person, whether you're in a culture individually or you're just out among other people, that people remember how you made them feel, and that's what's going to stick with them when you're gone.
It's true. It's very true. Okay, so what is your favorite snack?
So I can't say it's my favorite snack, but it popped into my head because it's one of my favorite snacks. And it popped into my head because my kids just this past week made me feel really guilty about the way I eat this snack. So Oreos, right? Oreos, I've loved them since I was a kid, but not so much the filling. I love the cookies. I don't love the white stuff in the middle. So what I do is I'll twist the cookie and I will eat the half without the filling on it, and I place the half with the filling on it on top of the Oreo packet. Later on, I'll come by and I'll do another one, and then I put those two halves with the filling together, and all of a sudden we've got a double stuffed Oreo, which I thought was a really nice thing I was doing for my kids. Uh, until all three of them the other day combined forces and asked me to please stop doing that because they don't like double stuffed Oreos. So I don't really know what to do with my snacking habit now. But that just popped into my mind when you asked for favorite snack because it involved my whole family and apparently something I was doing wrong as a father.
That is awesome. Oh my gosh. If somebody wants to come to Breckenridge and they need to find a place, who do they reach out to? How do they contact you, Toby?
BreckenridgeResortManagers.com. Love to host anybody that may be listening. Obviously Breckenridge is a fantastic place in the winter. A lot of skiing, a lot of outdoor activities. It's even nicer in the summer. Allie, we live in similar areas: rafting, hiking, mountain biking, camping. It's just a great year-round place. So we do vacation rentals in Breckenridge, and I would really love to host you again at some point, Allie. It's been a while. What are we, about year and a half out since we saw you in Cella last?
You are right. And I will tell you, it was at a VRM Intel conference, and we were given Breckenridge bags, and I covet that bag. I use it for all of my groceries, and I'm so proud when I have my Breckenridge bag. It is my favorite bag. And I tend to like bags, but
If you ever need another one, I've got cases of them in the back, and you don't even have to come here to get one. I'll send it to you because we're friends.
I love Breckenridge, though. I never need an excuse to come, that's for sure. All right, Toby, thank you for your time today. And I just appreciate you so much, and I appreciate your willingness to talk about this topic.
Yes, thank you, and thank you for having me. Super enjoyable, and I hope to talk to you again soon.
Thank you for tuning in to Snack Leadership. I hope you felt inspiration, motivation, and felt your mindset spark. Snack Leadership is recorded and produced by myself, Ali Camilletti, and music by Shireen Amini.